Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong. Welcome to the back office. I am so ill today. Unbelievable. Anyway, let's not worry about that. Let's have a look at this. Now, you're probably either wondering what this is or you know what this is. What this is one of these tags that goes around a piece of clothing. So they put this through an eyelet in your clothing or trainers or whatever. And it's actually connected to that. And I've had to chop it off because sometimes, you know, a tag just gets left on a bit of clothing. Now what they normally do is they put this in some sort of weird magnetic orifice that dismantles it. And I'm going to see, I've got some magnets here. I'm just going to see if I put a little bit of pressure on here, if there's any sort of way that you can sort of manually defeat this. So I've got magnet. You know, it doesn't seem to be doing anything. I'm guessing inside this thing as well there's like some sort of RFID weird antenna-y thing, because that it's got to have some, you know, means of getting picked up by the sort of security detectors. Yeah, I'm not getting anything. I don't know. I don't know if we'll be able to crack it because I don't know how it works. So I thought it'd be interesting just to see if we could actually just tear this down. You don't normally have the luxury in the supermarket or department store to get into one of these. Not without looking suspicious. So let's just see. I mean, to be honest, they were relatively easy to cut. That's the weird bit. If you are thinking of shoplifting, by the way, and you have these, don't bother trying to cut it here because that's all hard wire. Yeah, you can see it's a wire. You're not going to get through it. Just go to the end. The bit where it joins the actual thing, just cut it right there. Experience has shown me that there's normally some sort of metal pin. It looks like a pin, but we'll see. So yeah, that's my advice for shoplifters, of course. Better not to shoplift if you can avoid it. So there you can see inside the induction coil. Ooh, and it looks like maybe a capacitor. Yeah, that's interesting. So we'll have a bit more of a look at that properly. So I'm going to try to be slightly less aggressive in opening this up because I don't want to destroy the coil entirely, because I want to have a look at it. Yeah, we go. I'm just working my way around the edge. So there won't be a power source in here, of course. The power, I think, is extracted via this coil, so it's acting as a sort of antenna. Yeah, we're getting into it now. It's really weird though. It looks like it's kind of all bits of, looks like it's made out of just copper wire, but is that all it could be? Is that all it could be? It's a really crude system, but then maybe it can be crude because it doesn't have to be like an RFID type system, or you know, it doesn't have to identify the item. It just has to identify that it's a thing that's being stolen. So it's super simple. So there, that's all you got. You got this loop of copper wire, and that has with it just a small, well, I was going to say electrolytic, I'm obviously wrong, ceramic capacitor right there. Just soldered straight in. Odd, isn't it? Odd. So some of you with, you know, antenna knowledge would have some sort of idea of what sort of signature that thing's going to give off when you put it through a field, but I guess it just has to disrupt the field. Done. Right, now, let's continue with this bit. So this bit's been a little bit more tenacious actually, because we've got this bulge. So this bulge is the part that goes into the sort of receptacle that does its magic, however it does its magic, and that seems to be the standard feature on most tags. So I'm not sure they've all got the coily bit. I mean, they probably do, but this bit I've seen on other kinds of tags that have die in them, that if you try to do what we've done now, you'd end up breaking the die ball. And actually I've just cut those in the same way at the base, so I'm not sure the really elaborate big ball of die, but only an idiot would be trying to attack that part to get into it. So I'm just going to try to just, I don't know, nom this bit, I suppose, nom it off. And I've got a set of junior vice grips here that might be able to put a bit of pressure on that. Vice grips, of course, if you haven't got a pair, get some. They're really, really quite good. So it's managed to really quite squash that in, crushed in that nipply part. Let's see if that's done anything at all to that pin there. Nope, still in there tight. So whatever intellectual property this company sells in terms of their security thing lives in this bulge that they don't want you to get into particularly easily. I'm just going to take this to the table saw and see if I can get a cut into there, and I'll bring it back before we damage it anymore. I feel its secret is close to being revealed, so I've cut around this and it revealed this white cap. And inside the white cap is a spring. Springy. Being a bit gentle there, and you can see that point. See there's a spiky point in there, and a ball bearing. That point, okay, cool, right, hang on, let me gather these parts. So that pointy thing right there, which looks a bit like a earring butterfly, is the tip of that cable that goes through your item. I'm guessing it could also be sharp because maybe also that you might pass this through your items, but it's sharp because it has to get through this mechanism. So this mechanism has 3 ball bearings, which I'm going to attempt to sort of put in there. In fact, if I just dismantle this one last bit, I should be able to assemble it out of this plastic thing, which is kind of cool. And there we go. That off. So it's quite a complicated setup really, but I'm not seeing right now how you actually disengage it. Ooh, right, so those ball bearings a bit tricky, so we need to put that pin in the middle right away just to sort of stop the bearings from escaping. So that's one, that's two. There's our third, and then that cap will go on the top there somehow. So that's pretty much it. The ball bearings in the cap held. So to disengage this, to disengage that pin, this metal collet here has to slide out of that cup. So it has to slide towards us. I'm guessing that's what they must be using some sort of magnets or vibration or something to do it. I don't know how they're sort of jiggling that. I kind of think it can't be magnets because it's going to be so firm. But yeah, maybe a short, sharp shock. So if you had this wire here actually connected still to the cap like that, you might find if you had something like the pliers or this, yeah, and you ran it down and banged it like that, run it up the wire and bang it against the bottom of this housing, yeah, I think it will release. That's my theory, because I think the kinetic energy is going to travel through here and push the ball bearing and that carrier up into that direction. Once it goes in that direction, it'll loosen its grip on that center shaft, and then you'll be able to slide that keyway out. So that's my theory. I don't have another one to test it on. If you do have an intact one, I'd love to try it out. Please feel free to send me one and I'll have a go. And I'm going to have a look next time I'm in the shop, because I think you'll find that the shop assistant probably puts some pressure between this part and that part when she's or he is removing the bit, because sometimes that's not a rope, sometimes it's just a metal pin like a thumbtack. But I think they'll be pulling on the clothes slightly as they're doing something. And whatever's inside that machine is doing some sort of impact hitting this thing. Prove me wrong, prove me right, I don't know. Please comment down below. As ever, thanks for watching.